Hi everyone, and welcome to the lecture video Populations and Census Studies. In this video, we're going to discuss the difference between a population and a sample and examine what it takes to do a full population study. So first up, we need to define what we mean by population. In research methods, a population refers to a group of people, events, or objects that you're trying to describe with your research. The exact parameters of a population, meaning who is considered part of that population, really depend on the research question that you ask. For example, let's take a look at a quick example. If I ask the research question, how do students prepare for exams, then I'm establishing a population that contains all students, no matter their age. So my research question suggests that my population would include K-12 students, junior college students, bachelor and post-bachelor degree seeking students, and even vocational and homeschool students. But what if I were to word that more exclusively? If I reframe my research question to ask, how do college students prepare for exams? Now I'm establishing a smaller population of interest, specifically college students. Again, this is still a broad population that would include all of junior college and university students, as well as vocational colleges, law schools, etc. And finally, here's another reframing that tightens the population even further. How do UT Tyler students prepare for exams? Now my population of interest is solely UT Tyler students. So subtle changes in language can have a big impact on research design and methodologies. When we want to describe a population, we can use one of two methods. One method is to do what we call a census study, which requires you to gather information from every member in the population. This is the best option for describing an entire population, but it's also one of the more difficult methods because it's so expensive and time and labor intensive. One of the most well-known census studies here in the United States is our decennial census. Every 10 years, the United States government attempts to count every single person in the entire United States. I'm sure you've heard of the census, but I bet you never realized how massive an undertaking it was. The deployment process for the United States Census takes about 3 years from start to finish. That means even though the census questionnaires don't officially start until about January 2020, the census process already formally started as early as 2018. And the census will continue until 2021 because of the need to find people who don't participate and to analyze the massive amounts of data collected. And talk about resource intensive. The estimate cost for the 2020 census, they haven't come out with the final numbers yet, but the estimate is over $15 billion. That works out to about $107 per household in cost. I don't have the specific numbers for the 2020 census, but here are some numbers from the 2010 census to give you an idea of how expensive and labor consuming this census is. There were over 850,000 people involved in helping the 2010 census succeed. The Census Bureau mailed 120 million census forms in the mail, and they received about 3/4 of them back. That meant that the Census Bureau still had 47 million households to reach by non-mail methods, and they required over 700,000 people to go knock on doors and assist in the follow-up process. The total cost of the 2010 census was $13 billion. As you can guess, a census survey does not get used very often. Granted, most times you're not trying to reach the entire United States all at once, but unless you are a multi-billionaire, then you won't be able to drop that much money on a study anytime you want. Instead, we usually use the second method to find out details about the population, sampling from a larger population. This is an estimation process because instead of trying to talk to all the people in the population, we talk to a few people that can then represent everyone else. This type of research is a lot more achievable because it's budget friendly and can be done with less resources and time. However, because it is an estimate, it has error involved in the ultimate conclusions, and that error can be minimized or maximized depending on your research design decisions. You're going to learn more about the sampling process in your other video lectures for this module. All right, well, that concludes the Population and Census Studies lecture. Thanks for watching, everyone.